Graham, good to see you again. I'll just start with numbers. I appreciate that seems like a repetitive question at the moment, but just how are you and how close are those longer term absentees?
We've they're out on the training pitch, but with the medical team we're looking at next 10 days hopefully to introduce a couple of them, and if they keep going with how they've progressed in the last 14 days, then that should be the scenario quite soon. So we're not preempting anything because we've had a couple of setbacks with a couple of them already. We don't want that to happen again, so hopefully that will be the case when training starts in a week's time.
Yeah. Anthony Starcevic then and Aidan Baldwin, are those two?
Yeah,
Would that be fair?
Alex Patterson, Kieran Kelly's out on the grass, but he's going to be a little bit longer because of the severity of his injury.
Yeah.
And those three are the main ones that are the next introductions back into training. And
Corey, I know you missed Saturday. Is he okay?
He trained today, so we're just going to see how he is tomorrow. That was his first day of training since last week, so he missed a week of training. So fingers crossed he's available for us.
Are you feeling more confident, more at ease about the injury situation, and just numbers wise, how you've been over the last few weeks?
I've sort of learnt to switch off from it and not get my hopes up and not get too down. Yeah. So not have great expectations that we have them available on any given day. And just trying to keep an open mind because it's already been a couple of setbacks that have been disappointing for us. So I just don't want us to preempt it and plan for them being available here and it gets set back a week or something like that. So at the moment I'm just keeping an open mind. I'm trying to focus on the ones that are playing for us right now. When we do have them back, I know we'll be a better squad and more competitive. They're in good form mentally. I speak to them every day. So it's just about them progressing as expected.
Obviously Tyreek's absence is another blow to that department. We saw Clark come in during the second half of Saturday's game. Obviously Lewis has played there, we know he can play there, but it's been a discussion that we've had about Clark's best position and where he best be used. Is really now the onus on Clark to maybe used more in that role given the injury to Tyreek, or is that door still open for him to be used as an 8?
I think Clark's got many attributes that can play in 3 or 4 different positions. I think he's just a really good footballer. Yeah. He obviously missed a couple of weeks with the injury he picked up in the previous home game. I think it might have been Gillingham. But we need these players. I've spoke about it since they came in, about players who can play in 2 or 3 different positions. If I spoke to Clark personally, I think even he would have an open mind about what he feels his best position is. I think he's got really good attributes on the ball. I think he's fit. I think he's mobile. I think he's intelligent. So it's just about him, once he gets in the team, nailing down not a position but a spot in the team. Yeah. Because he is. It's been inconsistent his run of games for different reasons, either through selection or through injury or so forth. So it's down for Clark, but everyone at this club understands what a good technical player Clark is. But we need, or every player needs, much more than that to have a fulfilled career. So we believe in him. It's down to Clark really, but I think he's equally effective in 2 or 3 positions.
What's been the tack from you this week in terms of feedback, how you assess Saturday's game? Very clear in your initial response to it, how you started that game wasn't where you wanted the team to be, and in the aftermath of that, what has been the approach really this week?
Yeah, we've looked at it, because I think there's a little bit of a pattern, there is one. So we don't think it's there in black and white, so we have to address that. Like we had issues at Valley Parade when we first came in, and we tried to address them and fix them and pick up the wins and results that we felt we were capable of doing. And it's just almost the reverse of that away from home. It's how the opponent approaches the game. We have to be able to overcome whatever that is. And there's a couple of bits and pieces we've focused on this week about that start of the game. It's nothing that is sure-fired and perfect. So even if we did concede, we'd still have to maintain what we want to do. But I think there's certain aspects that we've addressed with the players and worked on in the last couple of days, especially, that we have to do better, certainly in the first 20-25 minutes of games away from home.
Yeah.
But certainly there's a difference in approach, like we spoke about at Valley Parade, where we can analyse the team, the previous games, and then all of a sudden at Valley Parade it's a different sort of mindset from the opponent. I think the same away from home whenever we go to play teams. So we have to almost understand what's coming our way and then be good enough to overcome it. That's the focus we have this week.
Can you take learnings from that process that you're ongoing still with Valley Parade and how you've addressed how you start games at home? Can you take learnings from that learning process and apply that to the away form? Yeah,
well, that's what we're trying to do. I think it's always about learning how to be better as a team, as an individual, as a group, and that's what we've tried to put in place. But I think it's important that if you understand what the problem is first, that's the first issue, and then coming up with a solution to overcome it. So I think understanding the issue is the first thing, which we do, and then it's putting the work in place to then, I think it empowers the players to say, instead of them wondering what are we doing wrong, it's quite clear what we're, I won't say doing wrong, but what the opponent is doing, and then we have to have certain strategies to overcome that, and that's what we put in place at home last season. It's different strategies, but it's still the same issue. You know, that we have to not allow the opponent or give them something that, you know, changes the course of the game long term, and that's what we're trying to do. But like I said, when we focused on it last season at Valley Parade, it didn't immediately fix it. It took a few games for us to understand, to learn, to practice. And that's what we said to the players today. I don't expect perfection today or mass improvement, because we had 2 days to sort of look at this really. But I do expect to see gradual improvement, and we'll just continually focus on it, as well as ticking all the other boxes we have to do to win a game of football. But it's constantly like that in football, that you always have something. Sometimes there's a lot of little different things and there's not a real pattern. But if you analyse your own performance enough and you analyse the games, if there's a distinct pattern there that you see is holding you back, then you have to put the work in place to overcome it, and that's what we're trying to do. And the players understand it. I think we've got the qualities to do it. I think we've got the professionals to understand it and strengthen that message. So the work's in place to take it forward.
Yeah, you've part answered really my next question, which is, does it call upon some of those more experienced heads within this group to administer that advice? And albeit we're talking about a group of players that quite a lot of them were experiencing great away form towards the back end of last season, so they know how to do it. Yeah, well,
I think we're the third best team away from home all last season, so it wasn't just at the end; it was last season as a whole. So the evidence is there from the group. I know it's a slightly different group because we've got new players, but the majority of the team at the moment has been here that whole course of the time. So we have to understand what the problem is. But I wouldn't just put it. I would expect it from the experienced players, but I just wouldn't put it just on them, because it's about intelligence. It's about understanding, and a 20-year-old can have understanding and intelligence. So it's not just the experienced players leading the way. I think anyone who can grasp what the message is, then take it forward into a game when you're under pressure. It doesn't matter how old they are or what position they play. It's just about the boys helping each other to overcome what is happening in front of them. Remind each other about what we've worked on. Encourage each other when it doesn't work quite as well as it should. The next time is most important. All those things. I'm not just putting it on experienced players. I'm putting it on the whole team to look after each other.
I know you didn't want to put how you started the game down to the moving parts clearly at the moment in terms of team selection, but because of your hand being forced somewhat by injuries and suspension and whatnot, can that subconsciously play a part in how you start games?
Potentially. But I believe if I just put it down to that, I think there's always cause and effect, and there's always things that have outcomes, but I wouldn't say that was the major outcome, because when I can see players, I know the players that we picked last week, the team are good players that can win games, that have won games. So I'm not going to diminish the how I feel about the players that I'm picking right now in their quality, because I think they're good players. I've said this consistently. I haven't got a best 11 and then the others are supporting actors. I don't see it like that. So if I just talked about that scenario, I think I'm giving myself an out. I think I'm giving the players an out. And I think we have to take responsibility and accountability for what we produce. And that's all I'm interested in, really, is outcomes and overcoming issues, not finding excuses for things happening.
Is it a benefit then that your next game is an away game and a long journey at that as well?
Yeah, I don't. The journey is not something that we spoke about. That's irrelevant for it. It's things we do in game and how we prepare for it. But I think it would have been, because this is a certain issue. It's something that we're not facing at home at the moment. How we start games. It is only away, so to work on it and then face a home game the next Saturday would be a little bit strange. But we would have maybe put this work into next week if that was the case. But we are working towards the overall season, but really in particular this particular game, because it's the next game and it is an away game. And if we can make improvements in what we need to do at the start of games, I think we give ourselves a better chance of winning, because our record at home is good. Our record after a certain time away from home is good. It's just a specific period where we've let ourselves down. So it is good that it's right in front of us, but it's no guarantees that we fix that problem this Saturday. But we need to try.
Appropriately, we're talking about what you can do and impact on games, but what do you expect from Colchester? What has your preparation taught you about what they can throw at you?
Yeah, they've got good players, really good experienced managers, and it's almost like when we come to town, what are we going to face? And that's been quite consistent, I think, in teams we've played against. A couple of times we've been able to overcome it and win it and win the games, and but 4 or 5 we haven't, and that's the problem. So the problems we will face on Saturday by the opponent are problems we will face in every away game, but they all have their different tactical plans, how they play, but that's not where our issue is. So the game as a tactical thing will be different from others, but it's still something we have to overcome. But the issue we're talking about, or I think we face week in, week out against different teams, different formations, different managers. So that is a separate thing for how we've planned for this game. I still, we have played 2 or 3 different formations over the last month, which is, we're trying to find those solutions when we're having to change the team, and so we'll still decide on Friday, when we know who is exactly available, what we believe will be the best team for the game. Finally
from me, we saw young Harry Ibbotson travel with the squad on Saturday and having his face back around the place. How was his loan with Kidderminster, and how has he come back to you?
Yeah, it was a worthwhile loan for him. I think he went to level. He started well, just then found himself out the team. He came back to us. I know the manager spoke to him. He sent me a message about how he'd done, so I relayed that to Harry, and we discussed it. And he's training with us every day. He's travelling with us. George Goodman was on the bench as well. I think when we have players missing and injuries, I think this is when young players have to be ready for the opportunity, because this is the opportunity that could kickstart their whole careers. I like him. I think he's physically he's in good shape. He scored a lot of goals for the U team last year. He's come out of his shell a little bit more than he was in pre-season. He was quite reserved and hiding away a little bit in training, but we knew it was a period where he had to come through. So instead of maybe taking him out and putting him back with the U team, we just said, no, you're with us all the time. And that's why he's not trained with them at all. He's been with us the whole time, because I think it would be the only thing that stops him having a real good career. And he's come out of it now. He's really assertive, producing what we believe he can in the future, and he's not holding back, and that's good to see from all young players. You know, that they come into it and they just want to show what they can do. So it's up to Ivo, as it is with all players. You know, how much exposure he gets on the pitch by his performances.
And is that what a loan can do? Just to send them out and expose them to first team football? Yeah,
I think that's it's the best learning curve is playing football, playing first team football. It's the quickest learning curve, I would say. And you have to go to another team where you're not known, you have to prove yourself, you have to compete. And I think it's a valuable experience for a player if they understand what it is, if they take on the challenge, and if they think about what they could have done better when they come back or what went well. So I think Ivo's done that. When I had a chat with him when he came back, we sat in the office and went through it, and he was quite clear about what he thought he could have done better at, which was good, because he actually, he's an intelligent young lad. So it's up to him if he wants to, but he's a pleasure to work with.
Thanks, Graham.
Okay, mate.
You said you haven't really looked at the journey in terms of the match planning. What have you done with the journey? Because you mentioned a few weeks ago about looking at long journeys and how they could affect the players.
No, it's just standard planning, really. I think we have certain things that we believe in, myself and Chris especially, on food intake on long trips, because there's a lot of downtime, and we're all guilty of it. If you're driving, you've got a bag of sweets next year and you just chip away at it, or a packet of biscuits, all that sort of stuff. So there's discipline in there when you've got long journeys and you're staying overnight in hotels. There's a discipline as a group, but certainly as an individual, because we don't, we're not the police. We don't man-mark them everywhere, in their rooms and so forth. So there's a discipline that the professionals need to have about preparing for the game in the right way. But I believe we have that. But it's I think players. Look, players have always had long journeys, for years. And I'll be honest, the coaches weren't as comfortable as they are now 30 years ago, I'll tell you that much, and there weren't as much to do on them. So they're fine in that preparation. So it's, we always make our plans way in advance about how we travel, where we train, all that sort of thing. But it's the biggest part of it is everyone keeping their discipline to do the right things. When there's a time to be bored, don't fill it with unprofessional things.
Saying you plan in advance, well, it's one of the busiest periods of the season coming up, and you've got the transfer window just after that. How much do you put into planning the logistics of how your time will be split over the next month or so?
Well, I had a meeting yesterday with Ryan, David, Jenty, Chris about January, and just a preliminary one to assess where we are right now, what we need to do to maybe potentially strengthen in January. But it wasn't actual details of individuals and names like that, just where we felt we needed strengthening, and then that'll be put back for a couple of weeks now, while we sort of gather a bit more information on our players, on potential signings. The games are the most important thing for me right now, or all the way through a season. So I never get distracted from what I have to do day in, day out, to focus on the players and what they need from us as a coaching staff to prepare for the game on Saturday. So I'll never get distracted from that. So if I can see a window where I can focus on things that I have to keep ticking along, then that's how we try to do it. But it's in football, you can have a diary with loads of set plans, and it can be thrown out the window at any moment, and you have to do all sorts of different things. So there's loads of different aspects that I have to cover, but it's not me on my own. I've got a lot of support around me with the staff and the people above me to help us navigate these periods and almost keep the distractions away from me at certain points when I have to focus on the team.
Cheers.
Okay, mate.
Obviously, Pete mentioned in January there. I mean, do you feel now that the ball's rolling a little bit more towards that transfer window?
No, not really. I think it's just a conversation to get all our individual thoughts on the season so far, players so far, and where we potentially need to strengthen or improve. I think between now and January, we'll probably have 5 or 6 meetings, and that's that's just actual meetings, but there's a lot of conversations in between, individuals on the phone, me and Ryan, me and David and Ryan, all that, and Genty. So it's continually always there, but I mean, we're still in mid-November, and we have to assess the players who we've had missing. Are they going to be in a fit enough state to consistently play for us, or is this going to be a continual problem for us? And we can only probably answer that closer to January. So there's a lot of things where we go, yeah, okay, if this is a scenario now, then we certainly have to improve this part of the team or this part of the squad. But if the 3 players come back, then there's no work to be done there. So it's continually moving, it's continually fluid. But if we are not communicating all the way along the way, it can be suddenly surprise to somebody when we have to say we have to do this. So, but yeah, that's it. Now we've had a conversation. It will probably be put back of my mind for the next 2 weeks. I'm sure Genty and David and Ryan will be continuing to think about what we spoke about yesterday.
I'd just say, because it's a window where it's very much moving parts, and it's a very different window than perhaps when you're preparing for the summer one, because obviously this one, it's all, well, everything's still going on and things can change even more day to day than perhaps they can in June, July. Yeah,
it's a little bit more volatile, the January window. I think players are coming towards the end of their contracts, which sort of heightens that feeling. Clubs we're all in a neutral position in the summer. Everyone's at the joint top of the league, so to speak. So there's by January people are in different positions. Some are ahead of schedule, some are below. All that sort of thing. So you have to communicate, have ideas, but be ready to act upon anything that might come up. And honestly, you really don't know what might happen. But I've said before, the target for us always, when we go into a window, can we come out of it in better shape than we went into it? That's the only target we try to hit. And sometimes you don't know what that will look like until you come out of it and you assess what you've done.
So you said in the summer about when you were signing a lot of players with recent success, sort of winning mentality, about how important that will be when perhaps the season, you have your ups and downs, when you have a couple of sticky results like at the moment, and that's when those players can say, yeah, we've been through this before, we can come out the other side. I mean, you sort of sense that might be important, at this moment, perhaps.
Yeah, because the meeting we had this morning about what we need to improve, what we're looking to improve, we included all the injured players in on that. So some meetings we'll have just for a specific game, and we won't include the injured players in because obviously they're not available. But for what we were talking about today, everyone was in there. So everyone heard the message, everyone heard what we have to overcome, because it's not just a Saturday problem. It's not, this Saturday, it's a continual problem. So they need to hear it, because I think they have value to add on that conversation and experience to give to other players. So that's why I think it was vital to have them included in that meeting today.
You sort of said before about the players who aren't involved. Obviously, there's a lot of experience there, but they can still have a part to play in terms of cajoling with the group. But obviously, in this sort of moment, they can sort of say, we're good enough players. We've got this experience in this squad. We know we can come on the other side and get going.
100%. Because they will come back into the group. They will come back in the squad, and I don't want them just to pick up from that point what we've been trying to do. I think they need to be involved in it, and because there's two things: they're close enough to be potentially involved in the next few weeks, but I do believe they can help the players that are out there right now, with experience, with a little bit of knowledge, with a little bit of encouragement, a little bit of common sense about what we're talking about. So there's all those things, and I talk about how important players are for us to do our job as well. It's not just us helping them, they can help us as well, and that's how we have to work together. So it was important to have those lads listening to what we faced, because obviously the away games, they don't travel with us for the away games, so they won't have seen firsthand what we've had to face. So it's important for them to know, and then help us all overcome it.
So the strength of the group's always shown in the tough times, isn't it?
100%.
And how you sort of respond to
100%. 100%. That's why it's, I have to set a standard. I'm not coming up with excuses why we're this is happening right now. It's irrelevant. It's how do we overcome it with what we have right now. It's anything else is just wishful thinking, and I think we have to take accountability. So it starts with me and responsibility, but the players understand that they're part of that process as well. So I believe in the growth of a squad, of a group. It's the tough times, the difficult times is the biggest growth period. It really is. It's that's when you understand who you sat next to in the change room, who you're playing in front of or behind on the pitch. That's when at half time you understand the players you're going to compete with. All those things. Post matches when it doesn't go well. All these things, how they respond on the Monday or the Tuesday in training. Are they a loser and quit, or are they a winner and keep competing? And that's where it's really exposed for everyone. So we don't want to go through these times, but because you want to win every week. But you also understand they do come along. But how do we come out of it better? And that's the same in every setback that you're facing as a professional footballer.